Welcome to this week's show. From deepening political divisions and rising tensions to the stories shaping the future of Southeast Europe, this is where the Balkans come into the focus. I'm Nadia Muftic, and this is Across the Balkans. Kosovo's Prime Minister Albin Kurti has claimed victory in the country's third parliamentary election since February 2025. But despite topping the polls once again, the results leave him short of a governing majority, raising of the prospect of yet another political deadlock. Adam Amunu has more on this.
A spectacular fireworks display lit up Pristina's skies following Kosovo's third parliamentary elections in 3 years. The results highlighted a political stalemate, with Prime Minister Albin Kurti of the Self-Determination Party coming out on top every time, but not with enough votes to form a stable and cohesive government. Having evaded an electoral loss, are things really looking up for Kurti? Preliminary results showed the Self-Determination Party secured around 43% of the vote. The Democratic Party of Kosovo was on 21%, and the Democratic League of Kosovo received almost 18%. The results show that no party emerged with majority control of the parliament, and that places the government back at square one, where it cannot exercise legitimate power without forming a coalition. The voter turnout was also lower by around 20% compared to the December polls, and Kurti's party saw a decline of over 30% in votes. It's a piercing message from an electorate exhausted by the cycle of elections.
Për këtyre zgjedhjeve duhet me tregu nuk pres komedi çka se I njëjti popull, I njëjti mentalitet, njëjtit njerëz. Pa mërmenet që prap kemi shku në votime, duhet me ndërprej, duhet me bo ndrim kushtetuar, duhet me bo një sistem tjetër.
Mas pari mendoj që kanë qenë shumë panevojshme, edhe që partitë politike kanë treguar shumë papjekuri, sepse na nuk kemi atë shtet I pasur që çdo vjet me pas ka 2 parë zgjedhje, më bë gjithë këto shpenzime të cilat faktikisht kishin mujt me u shfrytzu për zhvillim.
Lawmakers failed to elect a president in April, deepening a political crisis that has gripped the country since the inconclusive parliamentary elections in February last year. And up until April, the country had slugged through without a prime minister.
As far as crisis goes, I do not think it is over. I still think it very much depends on the will to make a deal.
It's a bittersweet victory for Kurti, who's found himself in precisely the same position he was in almost a year and a half ago. This time round, he doesn't have the numbers and has a lot of ground to make up. What is clear is that if a compromise isn't reached, it may not be the last time Kosovans are asked to vote again for the stability of their country. Adam Amunu, Across the Balkans.
And joining us now is former Kosovo President Vjosa Osmani. We'll be discussing the recent elections in Kosovo and the political situation following the vote. Thank you for being with us, Madam President. Welcome to Across the Balkans. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a great pleasure to talk to you.
You recently said Kosovo has no room for a one-man show, which many saw as a message to Albin Kurti. How do you see future cooperation with his party? What are your main red lines in any compromise?
In fact, I was referring to any men whatsoever or women, because Kosovo is a very well-established democracy. It has never tolerated anyone that wants to control everything. So I think it's a principle that applies to all, not any one party in particular. But it is essential that also the voice of the people of Kosovo have shown clearly that they want political parties to find compromise and to govern together rather than alone. Because also history shows that whenever political parties in Kosovo put national interests first and they sat down and found solutions to push forward these national interests, there was always a solution that benefited the country's interests and the people's interests. So when I said that, obviously I mean that the voice of the people this time was very clear that they wanted a compromise between political parties on creating the institutions, and I think we should all be inclined to give them exactly that, working with each other, finding a way forward, and showing to the people of Kosovo when that there are issues that require unity, we are able to achieve that unity that they want.
Thank you so much. President Osmani, what about other sides? Is it too early to speak about anything in their names?
I think it's quite early to say now because the votes are still being counted. It has overall been a democratic process, although with some difficulties that have been also noted by the report of the Council of Europe, especially when it comes to using AI in creating disinformation and propaganda, especially against women candidates. But despite of that, overall, there were no big incidents and all political parties have accepted the results, congratulated each other. So now we need to wait for the counting of all the votes, including the diaspora votes. And after that, we will know for sure how many seats each political party has in the parliament. But I think in any circumstance, it is clear that what the people of Kosovo want is for parties to sit together and find a solution that will not take the country to another election, another repeated crisis. It has been quite a lot of wasted time. Almost 2 years have been wasted. As you know, there were elections in February and then elections in December and now elections again. It is very clear that the people want a solution that will move the country forward. Now, you asked me a little earlier on what are the red lines. The red lines, as far as we're concerned, as far as our list is concerned, are related to protecting the country's interests, to making sure that the Euro-Atlantic integration of our country is not stalled, because it's an extremely important process, both when it comes to relations with our NATO allies as well as relations with our European allies. And also, we need to find a solution that creates institutions that put the country's development, economic development, as a priority, because it has been a very long time that the people are hurting. The inflation is very high. The prices of grocery stores are very, very high. So we need to find a way to make the lives of our people more affordable. And this, among others, apart from supporting families, is also achieved by huge investment projects, which are very, very necessary. And then there are the energy prices. And of course, energy is going to be one of the main topics that we will be discussing with the parties that we will be sitting down with. So there are a number of issues, but they all relate to the program and the vision that we have for Kosovo and how we can give the country institutional stability, how we can give the country a clear path forward when it comes to European and Euro-Atlantic integration, and how we can give the country a very rapid development and investment projects. These are the three main pillars that we will focus on and will be the top priority in any negotiation in creating the institutions.
I want to discuss a little bit more, like people are worried about rising prices and a slow economy, while EU funds remain frozen. How soon do you think political leaders need to form a government and unlock this support for citizens?
Well, it was necessary quite some time ago. So there's, as I said, we're quite a bit behind already because the growth plan was supposed to be adopted earlier last year. It was only adopted by the parliament at the end of the year. Nevertheless, because of the lack of institutions, many of these funds cannot be dispersed. So Kosovo is losing a lot financially when it comes to our relationship with the EU. Also, to mention the fact that Kosovo was under EU sanctions for about 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, almost 3 years. And we managed at the end of my mandate to convince the member states to remove these unjust sanctions that were put against the people of Kosovo completely unjustly, but Kosovo lost a lot from that process too. Now, of course, it's a very difficult economic situation. Families are barely keeping up because of the very high prices. So that's why we need to urgently create these institutions once the results are certified, which I believe might take a few weeks. But right after that, I believe sometime in July, we must have institutions in place so that we can immediately move ahead with the European Union growth plan, the disbursement of the money towards the institutions for very important projects that concern justice, economic development, education, health, and so many other areas of interest of our people. But at the same time, there needs to be a clear plan of investment projects within Kosovo. Kosovo has a budget, but unfortunately, there hasn't been that much capital investments or investments in general that would grow the country's economy. And that's why we need to make sure that this starts immediately after the creation of the institutions. Of course, apart from that, we need to continue the support for families. We need to continue to support the private sector because the vast majority of the people of Kosovo are employed in the private sector, so they need our support to get out of this very difficult economic situation, which is also caused by the inflation, but also the very high energy prices. And we're going to need to find a quick solution to the energy crisis that we're facing because Kosovo is spending most of its budget actually in importing energy, which is unforgivable because there are ways how this can be resolved, both by joining the US gas pipelines, by becoming part of the region that is buying LNG, but at the same time partnering with other NATO partners, including Turkey, in many other fronts that would enable us to use our coal at a much better purpose because we have the third largest coal reserves in Europe, the fifth in the world. However, there must be methods to use it much better instead of continuously importing and spending most of Kosovo's budget in importing energy. So there's a lot we have to do, but we need these institutions first. We need them fast. We need them democratic. We need them fully aligned with our Euro-Atlantic values and also inclined to work in that path. And we need these institutions to focus on development and good paying jobs.
President Osmani, Kosovo's Western partners want progress in relations with Serbia. How will you balance coalition talks at home while keeping a united position in the dialogue with Belgrade?
I think one of the most important issues where Kosovo needs a united front is exactly the relationship with Serbia. As you know, even leaving the dialogue in Brussels aside, there has been constant provocations to the stability of the entire region from Serbia. They attacked Kosovo, they tried to attack Bosnia Herzegovina and destroy it within. They tried to create problems for Montenegro and other countries in the region. So Serbia is the only force, the sole force that constantly destabilizes the Western Balkans. For that reason, internally at home, we need to stay united no matter which party is going to be in the government and which party is going to be in the opposition. This is one issue where we don't have the luxury of being divided. We need to have a united position on issues of national interest, and this is absolutely at the top of these issues. So our contribution, and mine especially, will be to create that unity within the parliament so that all political parties are involved in not just determining the positions that Kosovo will take, but also defending those positions whenever we are provoked by Serbia and whenever Serbia tries to not only destroy Kosovo by attacking us, but at the same time to destroy our unity. We should not give them that chance. This is one area that should bring us all together, no matter what kind of difficulties and differences we have on any other issue. This is one that should not divide us. Obviously, Kosovo has always shown willingness to participate in the dialogue. It has implemented the agreements that were achieved in the dialogue, whereas more than half have not been implemented by Serbia. Despite of this, in the past, the European Union did not treat both of us fairly. They treated Serbia as the spoiled child of Europe. They treated Kosovo as a constant party that was mistreated by the European Union. And this mistreatment was shown when, in May 2023, Serbian gangs attacked KFOR in Kosovo, but we had to pay the price for it through EU sanctions, although all of those who attacked KFOR soldiers were on camera and they have been identified. Only now, both NATO and the European Union are asking Serbia for responsibility, but there has been zero sanctions, zero measures against Serbia for all of these attacks and the fact that they have been trying to destabilize the entire region. So we want fairness from the European Union. We want a dialogue that is based on principles, and we want them to finally have the same position that the United States has, which is that this dialogue, for it to succeed, needs to focus on mutual recognition. Otherwise, it will only be another wasted decade for the region, where Serbia is allowed to simply stall the process, to not implement anything, to drag the entire region, but also drag the European Union, but not achieve anything meaningful. And unfortunately, so far, this message that was constantly sent by Serbia, a message of destabilization and delay, was not properly gotten by the European Union. But I think now with the leadership of the EU, that has changed. Hopefully, they will understand that and they will treat both Kosovo and Serbia based on the equal treatment principle, and at the same time make sure that when Kosovo delivers, that the European Union delivers too. They haven't so far, unfortunately, because we're the only country in the region without a candidate status, despite being so far ahead with reforms compared to many other countries in the region. It's about time that the EU moves fast on this, and we will work with them to make sure that this is achieved.
Thank you so much. And for the end, President Osmani, what's next for Kosovo now? You have, I think, 60 days, right?
We have 60 days, according to a constitutional court ruling, to make sure that the country elects a new president. Obviously, before that, we'll have to also constitute the parliament. But looking at the numbers, it is clear that a compromise among political parties is necessary to create all three institutions, whether we're talking about the parliament, the government, or the president. So I think it is imminent that we all start these discussions and the political party leaders sit down to find solutions that benefit the people of Kosovo, so that we don't lose this chance, but at the same time, we don't lose sight of the voice of the people, the message of the people that has been very, very clear towards everyone. It is necessary to create these institutions fast. It is, as I said, imminent, and these institutions must be not any kind of institutions, but the kind of institutions that push forward the people's interests, the Euro-Atlantic integration of the country, and the development of the country, and can give us some political stability for the next 4 or 5 years, so that we can also make sure that we can join NATO, which is essential and urgent, and also move ahead with the candidate status and hopefully negotiations with the European Union on our membership. So a lot on our plate, a lot on our table, a lot to do. But before everything, we need to have institutions in place. And I really do hope that the pro-stability logic will prevail among the other political parties as well.
President Osmani, thank you so much for being our guest in Across the Balkans. It was a pleasure to have you here in our program. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Çok teşekkür ederim.
Two countries from the Balkans have qualified for the FIFA World Cup, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia. But this type of success goes beyond football. It brings a valuable economic boost to a country. Going deep into the tournament and winning medals amplifies those effects even further. So from consumer spending to global visibility, what does football success mean for a country that has qualified?
Qualifying for a major tournament like the FIFA World Cup is usually a boost for the local economy. But what if a country is far from the host nation? Well, even better. That will help keep more of that spending within the country. So both Bosnia and Croatia are expected to see a rise in consumer spending, retail sales, advertising and tourism.
Our football federation prepared and gave us the approval for 3 official fan zones for public viewing. 2 of very famous locations in the Old Town, which we are looking forward to celebrate with our citizens, the games of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but not only of Bosnia and Herzegovina, also other football matches. It is also an opportunity for our municipality to even in bigger dimensions to grow our touristic potential. Old Town is mostly and primary a touristic destination. Everyone who visits Bosnia and Herzegovina and Sarajevo usually comes also to visit Old Town. Now there are even more opportunities and more reasons to visit Old Town for the fan zones. And what we also organized is public viewing with other ambassadors for their countries.
While it is difficult to calculate the exact increase in spending, some estimates suggest up to 20%. These surges are short-term and limited to specific sectors rather than the whole economy. But the overall effect will still be noticeable for Bosnia and Croatia. It's not just restaurants and fun zones. World Cup sticker fever has already taken hold. Weeks before the event, fans have been queuing to buy Albins and sticker packs. With shortages reported in many cities, children and adults have been gathering at swap events to trade duplicates.
It is officially now the currency in this period, panini stickers of our representation, of our football match, but of course of everything else. Children, young children, but also adults are going all over the city asking, do you have stickers, where you can buy? That's also one of the part of these economic driving situation for the World Cup. It's not only football is one part of it, but it is so much more. Now you can see merch products from our football team are skyrocketing. Of course, it helps a lot to boost the economy. We hope that our football team is going to the finals, of course, and even winning the World Cup. But our heart and our thoughts and of course our prayers are with them to get as much as possible points and as many as possible wins in this World Cup.
There is also direct revenue. Simply qualifying brings in around $9 million in FIFA prize money. It goes to the national football federations. After covering team costs, players' bonuses and salaries, a portion of that money is typically reinvested in football infrastructure and youth development. Bosnia's Football Federation has recently revealed plans to rebuild the stadium in Zenica. It's the national team's home ground and has needed major renovation. The upgrades are set to bring it up to UEFA Elite category standards.
Nacionalni stadion u Zenici ima veliki značaj za Bosnu i Hercegovinu. Zenica je sredina koja zaista živi jednu multinacionalnost, multikulturalnost i to je razlog zašto su se upravo institucije odlučile, prije svega Nogometni fudbalski savez zajedno u saradnji sa gradom Zenicom i drugim partnerima da nacionalni stadion gradi ovdje kod nas u našem gradu. On kako će biti za lokalnu zajednicu značajan, on je zaista značajan za cijelu državu Bosnu i Hercegovinu, za sve narode, vjerujte mi.
If a team excels in the tournament, the financial impact is greater. In 2018, in Russia, Croatia's silver medal at the World Cup earned their football federation around $28 million in FIFA prize money alone. After finishing third at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, the federation reported record revenues of around $78 million and profits of $15 million. For this year's FIFA World Cup, the prize is $50 million for the winner, while the runner-up will receive $33 million.
Vi znate da ja polažem jako puno na zajedništvo, na kontinuitet. Evo, nadam se da ćemo i ove godine imati dobre rezultate.
Success in other sports, though, does not translate in the same way. The Serbian women's national volleyball team became world champions in 2018 and 2022. But unlike football, global audiences are smaller and sponsorship markets are limited. Prize money is typically in the hundreds of thousands, not tens of millions like football, meaning the economic impact remained significantly smaller in comparison.
Zašto nogomet, zašto fudbal donosi najviše novca? Pa gledajte, institucije su opredijeljene naravno u tom pravcu da finansiraju najviše tu sportsku disciplinu. Naravno, gledajući koji je sport najpopularniji, to je široko poznati u svijetu, tako i kod nas u našoj državi. Naravno, u nekim državama možda fudbal nije broj jedan, ali na Balkanu je zasigurno, dakle, fudbal na prvom mjestu kada je pitanje popularnost. Želim zaista svim Bosancima i Hercegovcima da uživaju u ovom svjetskom prvenstvu, posebno našim reprezentativcima koji su nam donijeli ovakvu sreću.
While no other sport can match football's economic effect, there is another important upside. What football does deliver, beyond short-term spending, is visibility. For smaller countries, World Cups are a rare moment on the global stage, a chance to build recognition and soft power, influence that goes beyond numbers.
We wish the best of luck to Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Turkey, and of course all the countries that have qualified for this year's FIFA World Cup. That's all from the team for this week. I'm Nadia Muftic, and we hope to see you next time.